Brandon Ziegler says, this team is giving me major 2000 Ravens vibes. Their offense sputtered all season, but the D carried them heavy. This D has a chance to be legendary. Here's the thing. In 2000, the Ravens won with defense. 2002, the Bucs won with defense. League's a lot different 20 years later. The rules have changed. It's harder to win with defense. All the rules benefit offense. So it'll be tough, especially when there's these like amazing quarterbacks in the league that you can't touch or breathe on. You can't breathe on them, Dad. It could breathe on them the wrong way. Lucky Luis says, Remilia Sports punching the air right now. Friend of the show. Love that guy. Hope he's doing okay. Scott Hill says, hey, Grant and Lowell. I love the unbiased coverage of my Niners. I saw your dad interview Joe Montana. I was 20 then. Wow. That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mario Gonzalez says, let Kittle out of the doghouse, Grant. I'd take it anymore. Why do we have the best tight end in the league and we do not use him? Huff, hands down, MVP so far. It's weird what's going on with Kittle. He's blocking a lot. He's blocking.
I have to feel that they're using him for blocking.
Mikey Niner says, players no respect for head coach. Jimmy Garoppolo calls him Kyle. Come on. He wants to be called Kyle. He's the cool teacher in school. Call me Kyle. Dustin the Gale says, if Niners won the Super Bowl this year, would that be good or bad for Trey? Will it buy Kyle a year to let Trey develop, or will it create even higher expectations for 2023? If the Niners win a Super Bowl, no one's getting fired for a very long time. It gives everyone job security. It's probably good for everyone. And if it's not good for Trey, they can always trade him.
They can trade Trey.
They could trade Trey, but let's let him win the Super Bowl first. Johns George says, love listening to both of you. One of the best. P.S. We need to play the Rams first 2 regular season games. If not enough in preseason, too slow. Slow start, problem fixed. Yeah, the Rams always get the Niners going.
Yeah, the Niners have ownage.
7 in a row.
That's what group type always talk about, ownage. They have ownage.
I like creating words that don't exist with AGE in the end, like yardage and ownage and things like that. I would have called my head coach by my first name, Bench, if you would have. Well, you weren't in the NFL. Jim says, can you please do a co-show with David Lombardi? Probably not. Jeremy Price says, Little keeps his feet in that. Oh, Kittle keeps his feet in. That's another touchdown. Yeah, but he didn't. All right, let's go back to our show. Kittle.
Is there a person named David Lombardi I don't know about?
Yeah, you don't need to know about him. It's all right.
Okay.
Matthew Sanders says this team still won't be able to beat teams like Buffalo, Philly, Kansas City because elite offenses find ways to put up points and Jimmy can't hang at that level. Pretty much. So the Niners and Kyle and Jimmy are going to have to find something new. At least they have Debo. Niner Wolfgang Cass says, great to win. Jimmy played pretty good, but did you guys catch the missed wide open TD? There were at 3 at least. Hopefully they correct that score. I saw one in the press box where it looked like Juszczyk was open deep on a underneath throw to Debo for no gain. But
well, Jimmy doesn't want to throw deep.
Doesn't want to. The Gold Rush 561 says this offense makes it too close for comfort. 1 TD in the second half all season. Oh, wow.
I hadn't thought of that.
That's very interesting. Did you see that stat that the Rams have been outscored 44-3 in the fourth quarter? These offensive geniuses are getting figured out after halftime. But we're not using the word genius anymore. It's the most overused word in football. The one real Zangetsu says 25 laps for gold. Great job on penalties since week 2, and that free third down conversion against Warner was completely bogus. Robbie Gould. Yeah, he's missed a couple now this year, I think.
You like Robbie Gould?
Yeah, I like Robbie Gould a lot. He's got a dry sense of humor, and he's like my brother's age. Not that old, sorry. But I like him. He's older than me. He's one of the few guys on the team that's older than me. Brandon Harrison says Jimmy Garoppolo was okay, but not a world beater. 70% of his passing yards were yak. That's true. He managed the game and didn't play arsonist, but Rams D isn't that good this year. Yep. If he could just manage the game, I think the Niners would be in good shape, but I'm not even sure he can do that consistently. Kyle Shanahan win-loss record over under 500 at the end of the season. What do you think? I think he's 3 under right now.
He's 3 under now?
I think so.
How about 500?
I think that's pretty fair. I think that's fair. One more, and then we'll get back to the show and finish the rest up later. The Tej P05 says, why is it that these Niner teams are literally carried by the D each year, yet the head coach is an offensive specialist? That's the thing. If Kyle Shanahan were in this position with a great offense and a team that's consistently getting into the playoffs, but the defense lets him down, you'd think, well, he just needs to find the right defensive coordinator. He'll figure it out. The fact that it's his defense that's so dominant and his offense is holding everything back is like, what? It's very strange. Grant, is it time to trade Kittle? Shoot it to me straight. Is it time? I think it's too late. That's why I was talking about doing it last year. I think now they're committed to him. They extended his contract. He's here. They gotta make the best of it. Now, And he's still a good player, but they clearly want to limit how much he does. Maybe that's the right thing to do. David Montez says, Lowell, you're the OG. But my question to you is the Niners defense mediocre to you or the team as a whole? If it's yes to defense, does Ward come back and help? Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa, no one's saying the Niners defense is mediocre. It's untested.
It's untested.
Well,
it will be tested. But
yeah,
my gut feeling is this is perhaps the best defense in the league. When Jimmy Ward comes back, first of all, let's see what Jimmy has. He had a serious injury. I really love Jimmy Ward, but you can't have enough good players. So if he comes back, sure, he can make it better if he's still good.
They got to be really careful with Jimmy Ward because this injury, like a very serious hamstring pull tear at his age, could happen again. They got to make sure that doesn't happen. And he's not in football shape. That's the term of the year, football shape. So they got to be and plus the safeties are playing great without him. So right. slow. Because they want him in the playoffs or for down the stretch. Muid says, more life to both of you. Love your show. Thank you. David the Prankster says, Kyle won't watch Walsh's tapes, but he'll borrow Madden's deodorant without issue.
He doesn't watch Walsh's tapes?
I asked, and he said no.
I got to tell you something. This is new to me. Harbaugh, who, as Iggy, we like Harbaugh. He has an ego as big as Alaska. Mm-hmm. He told me that he watched all of Bill's tapes.
Mm-hmm. You know
why would you not?
Because he's no dummy. He's no dummy.
Here you have the Encyclopedia Britannica of football in your building. And you're going to say, I don't think I want to read I'll read the
It's outdated. It's outdated. He said he watched it for the novelty of how outdated it was. Something like that. All right, dude. All right, man. That's cool.
Like he was.
Hey, win the Super Bowl this year, buddy. Win the Super Bowl this year.
He was reading Beowulf in the original Old English.
Hey, check this out. Middle English was so interesting. Of course, none of this applies now, but Middle English was pretty far out. Like, dude, okay.
You know what my mother would call that? That's chutzpah.
He should have just lied. And
yeah, I watched it. Nerve. That's a lot of nerve.
It is. The noiv, the chutzpah.
The noiv.
Striptease Trey says if Werner, Kittle, and Jennings catch the balls that hit their hands, Jimmy's like 20 at 27, 300 yards, 2 TDs. Not perfect, but he played well in a big game. Deserves credit. Looked a lot better. Man, sure. If you play that game, though, if Deebo Samuel doesn't make a superhuman play and the other cornerback picks off the pass, you could play that game all day. But does it really do you really care that much what grade I give Jimmy Garoppolo after they win? I mean, you're a fan of the team. They won the game. Does my grade lessen your enjoyment of the game? It shouldn't. I'm not trying to hurt. You know what I'm saying? Josh says, if we can't compare this team to the early 2000s Ravens, then we can't compare them to the 80s Niners either. We shouldn't. We got to compare them to... I guess the last team to win a Super Bowl with a great defense was the Broncos, 2015. They did have Peyton Manning, but he was really old at that point. So maybe Jimmy can be really old Peyton Manning, although he could manage a game. Peyton. Sean says, just as you can't judge Jimmy by his worst performances, don't assume he's capable of maintaining mistake-free or even not tragic mistake-free football the rest of the year either. Wise words. We wouldn't assume it. Carol says, Kyle is not quick at second half in-game adjustments, especially when the game is close.
I would agree with that, but I thought he did well last night. But what Grant and I say is at the crisis moment, he doesn't seem to have the presence of mind you want.
Dad, how many points did they score in the second half on offense last night?
I don't know. 3?
3.
That's not good.
3. And I gave him all kind of credit for the field goal drive. It was a nice drive. It was the one to use check up the sideline. Okay, that was it. That was the whole thing.
Otherwise, they had the Hafunga.
The Hafunga and the missed field goal. So the Hafunga. Aisha Malik says, if Jimmy was our starting quarterback from the start of the season, think we would be 4-0 right now.
You know what? You'd be 2-2.
2-2. Thank you.
2-2.
Yep. Yeah. Whose voice were we channeling right there? We said, Hafunga. Who are we channeling? I don't know. Me and my dad talk in a lot of voices, and sometimes we forget which voices we're doing.
Was it the Cowardly Lion?
Yes! There it is, Cowardly Lion. Black Orchid 772 says, sorry, Grant, this is not football related. What are your album covers on the wall? Oh, they're my mom's. So this is, you got Prince 1999. Then you got Morris Day, What Time Is It?
Oh, she loved
that. Then you got Rick James, Street Songs. You got Teddy Pendergrass, Life is a Song Worth Singing. That is... Hold on. Stevie Wonder, James Brown again, Rick James, Michael Jackson off the wall before he was a little bit more problematic. Hall & Oates, greatest hits, Sly and the Family Stone, more Teddy Pendergrass. My mom's. Shout out my mom.
Grant's mom and my wife. Her name was Dawn. Her name was Dawn. And we miss her every day.
Seth Harvey says, win Panthers, lost Falcons, lost Chiefs, Rams 3-5, 4-4. Trap game, Falcons, trap game. Falcons are kind of tough this year. Were they 2-2 as well?
I don't know. I didn't check them out.
Let's see the Niners not beat themselves against the
that's
Charlotte.
That's a key point, and you made it last night. They didn't beat themselves last night.
They didn't beat themselves. When they lose, they often beat themselves because they're. Michael Hamilton says inability to get franchise quarterback is the root of struggles. Yeah, I mean, it seems like you could have the greatest playbook. You could be the greatest play designer, but your number one job as a head coach is to find a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's the number one job. And if you haven't done it in year 6, it's fair for people to say, hey, man, maybe someone else needs to do that job. Striptease Trey says, what is the story behind Banana Hands? I got it from the Elmore Leonard book, the Afghanistan Banana Stand.
Again, that's Donald Westlake.
Donald Westlake, sorry. Right. And I was saying, if Kyle had any other name, people wouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt. Like if his name was Banana Hands instead of Banana. I think I said Banana Stand at first, but it evolved. Gavin says, Kyle's offense has been behind because he has not developed the most important position, the quarterback. He needs to decide what he wants out of the position. He wants Kirk Cousins.
He not only does he need to decide, he needs to get a quarterback.
Get a quarterback. Tom Brady called him up, and he was like, no thanks. Niner Gang Wolfcast says, Shenny really a defensive coach? His offense came from his great study in defensive meetings and understanding of defense. Maybe he is. Maybe he should rebrand himself, Dad. Andrew says, as mid as Jimmy is, I think the lack of superior running game is the real difference in making a playoff run.
Running game, since they depend on it, it would be very important.
Yep, absolutely. House of Jello says, what was your dad, Lowell? What was your dad? What do you mean? What was your dad? A lawyer. What was your dad?
Oh, my father? My father was a lawyer in New York.
Yes.
A very humble lawyer, I must say.
Yeah. Mickey,
that's it. His name was Emmanuel, but everybody called him Mickey. And he was a loving guy, and he was in business with himself. My father was legally blind, so he had a lot of trouble reading. And there were 3 children in the house: my older brother Robert, me, and my younger sister Carol Ann. And when he had cases, one of us would stay up at the kitchen table with him and read the whole file to him, and he'd memorize it because he couldn't read it himself. And he would go into court the next day. So he was a lawyer, but he was a very humble lawyer, and his law practice was really a family endeavor. And I think about my dad every day and love him.
And your mom was a school teacher.
She was a school teacher. She was a really good school teacher. She taught as far as I remember, she mostly taught the 6th grade. She was a hell of a teacher. She was a little bit out of my neighborhood. It was called PS 92. She taught at. I went to 193.
Haha said the Niners spent high picks for defensive tackles. I hope they have learned those are not high impact position, and having premier secondary and linebackers rocks. Yeah, and it seems like that is interesting. The Niners have been so good at finding defensive linemen that they don't need to do that anymore. They can spend their first round picks on other spots. Or, I mean, not defensive tackles, defensive ends. This year they spent a second round pick on a defensive end. That's a good pick. He looked good so far. Drake Jackson. Mikey Niner says, Lowell, keep writing. Miss the days before anti-social media. I just want to say that my dad wrote a story recently, and I read it, and it was phenomenal. It's the best thing. Not the best thing, but it's as good as anything he ever wrote. And I read it, and you didn't, so I'm bragging. I got to read it.
And Grant made 2 very critical observations, and I've changed some things in the story. I haven't been able to write for the last 2 years because my wife was really ill, and then she died, and I've been upset. And I think it was a good sign that I could finally write a story. And I always showed my stuff to my wife. She was a brilliant editor, but I couldn't this time, so I showed it to Grant, and he was a brilliant editor, and I deeply appreciate it.
Thank you, Dad. Brian Hoyer says, will you be a Niner fan when you retire? No. Jesse says $2. Thank you, Jesse. Trey Niner says what?
Iggy, why do people want to know if we're fans? It keeps coming up. Why do they
just
care?
feel like some people, people can't fathom caring so much about a team and not rooting for it. I think people are like, how? I don't understand engaging with the team that way. Well, it's just how we do it. It's how we've been doing it forever. It's a journalist's approach. You guys aren't journalists. You wouldn't know.
I mean, for example, Tim Kawakami is down there from The Athletic, and he's there all the time, and he asks questions. I wouldn't imagine that Tim is rooting for the Niners. He's rooting for The Athletic. He's rooting for the things he writes. I think Grant and I are typical of that culture.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm putting down Tim by saying that. I think he would agree with me.
Yeah. Trey Niner says, I'm curious what the Niners do against Aaron Donald that prevents him from dominating no matter who we have on the line. Well, I think they make him work hard in the run game. And then when it's time to pass, I think the ball comes out so quickly. They don't try to throw the ball down the field against the Rams. It's just get the ball out fast. I don't think he really has many opportunities to do anything.
And I'll tell you something else.
What?
Did you notice how many times last night they took him out of the game?
No. Interesting.
He was out for every once in a while. They took him out. Here's my reading of him. He's a great player. I believe he takes certain downs off. Recoup. I think he gets tired. And I think what the Rams are aware of it, and they took him out for selected plays last night. Well, because I do think he'll be on the field, but take the down off. And now they say, you want to take the down off? Maybe you'll do it on the sideline. I'm not in their meetings, but that's how I read it.
Seth says Flav changed his name to Striptease Trey. Ha. Niner. Rob says scared of losing Ayuk. He kills corners and never gets the looks he deserves. That's a good point. He has a lot of frustrated body language on the field because he doesn't get the ball.
Also, he got pretty angry at the they were holding each other.
Ramsey.
You know, Ayuk strikes me as in the game. I don't know what he's like outside. A pretty angry guy.
Yes.
In the game.
There's like a seething anger right beneath the surface with him that he doesn't show you. When he's in the locker room, he's like blank, quiet, almost like the guy, like your little brother. On the field, like he's the guy who's going to stand up for the entire offense. He did it in training camp with Fred Warner.
Yeah, he did. I think there's an anger in him, and I guess I'm praising it.
Yeah. And I think that, look, I never played football. I went to, hey, Dad, I want to be a wide receiver. And you're like, no. And I'm like, oh, darn. Like, for people who really want to play football, there's something there. You need it as an outlet. And for him, you can see it when he gets on the field. Kyle says the best football players go to a dark place before they get on the field. I don't really have a dark place to go to. He goes to a dark place. I can see it.
Ronnie Lott went to a dark place. He told me. He didn't use that phrase, but he clearly did. He went to a dark place.
Patek says, who was the best Niner in the 60s?
I couldn't really say. I wasn't a sports writer in the 60s. Yeah. I was at Stanford in 1966 to 72, but I really wasn't paying attention. I can't answer that. Willie Mays. Willie Mays.
What's the Donald Westlake book called with the Afghanistan, Bananistan?
Oh boy. Is someone asking that?
Yeah.
I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, I'll come back to it. Sorry about that. Couple more. Jeffrey, thank you. Almost caught up. The coach, love you, man. Small ball seems to be the approach moving forward offensively. Teams will respond. Moving forward, the play calling is even more key. Defensively, awesome, but we're soft internally. Strong run games will try to exploit that. Yeah, and the Rams can't run the ball. It's a good point. Armstead, Kinlaw, both battling injuries. That's where the Niners are, being tested, could be tested down to their backup defensive tackles against teams that can really run the ball. 2 weeks, Atlanta can run the ball. Good call, Coach. Small ball seems to be the approach moving forward offensively.
So what you're saying is if they want to run up the gut against the Niners currently because Armstead and Kinlaw are out, they may have some success. I don't want to speak to Armstead, but I do want to speak to Kinlaw. He's worked so hard to come back, and he has such a good attitude. I'm pulling for him.
Me too.
I'm pulling for Kinlaw.
Me too. They had a meeting before the game where, they do a workout and determine whether he's going to play, and they all huddled together, and I guess they decided he wasn't going to play, and he immediately took his hoodie and put it over his face. He just seemed so crushed, and
he's crushed.
Felt for him.
I can imagine.
Crushed.
It means so much to him. Well, I hope I'm going to call it a flare up. I have no knowledge of what it is, so I'm just using that. I hope it returns to normal quite soon, and he can be that presence in the middle.
Yeah, and I'm hoping the fact that he was healthy enough to do that workout before the game and that they had to talk about it and that he did a walkthrough on Saturday means that it's not catastrophic and that it's just a minor setback. I'm hoping.
Great.
Jesse says, with Jimmy, you have to grade on a curve. This was a B performance for him. He is definitely the Achilles heel. I have a tough time giving a 30-year-old vet a curve, but I see what you call him, the game manager curve. Okay, fair enough. Great show as always. Best guest as always. Thank you, Bryant. Hell of a guest. EA says, I think Sam Womack is in the doghouse ever since Bosa made a comment about him always being on his phone with his girl. Felt some immaturity. I missed that comment.